Well, I am glad all of you are here with us again tonight. And we're actually going to be jumping into the book itself tonight and begin reading what has been for centuries a challenging book to understand and to comprehend for a lot of people. So I'm glad you're joining for the study, and we will see what we can gain out of it. I want to begin tonight with a passage that is very familiar, and a lot of people like it. Get your Bible. And use it for slogans and things like that. But the implications of it are maybe deeper than often is thought of. And that's Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23. If somebody would read that passage, we'll jump into this.
I got it.
Okay.
Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the springs of life.
Okay, you are reading from what I have, which is the ESV. Who has a different version to read?
I got it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay. I have above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life.
Okay. Anybody have? What'd you read from, Josh? You turned your mic off.
International version.
Okay, New International Version. All right. Somebody have something different than those two?
Mine says source in place of wellspring.
Okay, it's a source of life. It's a
Holman Christian Standard Bible.
Okay. He says, protect your heart, for it is the source. That's what the wellspring is. It's the source of water. It's where the water starts from. It is the source of life. That's a pretty powerful statement about the importance of our hearts in our lives. And those of you who have gone through premarital counseling with me, and there are a couple of you who have, know the importance of the heart and how we talked about that. Well, here's the question. Though relational rituals vary within the United States, I want to hear from your perspective, experience, your observation. Describe the nature of dating, courtship, and relationship building as you see it today. What do you see?
Just from my perspective, it's from what I've seen, it's very self-centered. You hear a lot, find the right person for you. And I remember you did a sermon about 4 or 5 years ago where you said, don't find the right person, but be the right person. So, and it's very contrary to that.
You're very affirming to me, Josh. I appreciate you. You remembered 4 or 5 years ago a sermon. That's great. I'm not sure I could have remembered that. So that's
well, I wrote it down on a card because that was right when I was in high school, college. So
it was great that you're paying attention to things like that, because that's exactly right. The Bible doesn't talk about finding the right person. The Bible talks about being the right person. What do you see? Josh talked about everybody's kind of self-centered in their courtships. What do you observe? What do you hear?
The one thing that I remember, this is the sincerity and your attitude toward finding the right man. Putting God first, let Him direct you.
Mm-hmm.
I fully believe that.
That certainly should be a Christian perspective about that. You know, one of the things that, as you're thinking about answering the question, is that people who come from other countries where marriages are arranged, and they observe the rituals and the patterns that are carried out in this country, the reaction to those is that those are kind of they see our dating and romance practices as a little bit barbaric or backward. For them, they understand the severity, the seriousness of the relationship, and so they clearly understand that we're going to need wisdom in our lives. We're going to need somebody who has some maturity to help us make this kind of decision. And so I think people from other countries would be very, especially where there are arranged marriages, would find our approach to relationship building lacking, to say the least.
I think one way that our culture does dating now is treating it like buying a car. I've even heard people use this analogy of buying a car. You want to try out all the different models, bring it home for a while, like compared to maybe living with each other. You want to try it out before you make any kind of long-term commitment, and that just is not a good analogy when it comes to long-term committed relationship.
I think in addition to what Gloria is saying and Joshua, is that what I see is a fear that the teenagers in their dating life now, they want to go around in small groups. They want to be secure in that group, and they have heard preachers and Bible school teachers talking about, oh, look at how many divorces there are in this world today. And I think they're fearful of using their own judgment to find someone. Now, I don't think we are in that position to find one for them, but I think we understand them a little bit better if we'll take that into our reasoning.
So one of the things that's happened that you're talking about, and I've encountered this on several occasions, is that there are young adults who are afraid of making that commitment because they've experienced divorce in their own lives with their own parents. They're reluctant to enter into a commitment because they've been hurt so by it. And so it's kind of an interesting world out there. As you continue to think, let me give you some more things to consider. I know that there are pockets of disciples of Jesus who encourage friendship building and very limited physical contact, but most of the dating ritual is about impressing others. So it's often superficial. It's often artificial. From an early age, and this is where mothers need to really be mindful, children are often pressured to form romantic relationships, in some cases to please their mom. And their moms get a lot of sense of value from it. You know, little Missy has Johnny as a boyfriend. I even watched a video recently of a little boy and a little girl who probably were 2 or 3 years old, who kissed one another on the lips, and they had a really bizarre, funny kind of reaction, and it's kind of a YouTube sensation. And it looks so cute, and we have no idea what we're encouraging when we do that. And I think that's actually a mistake to encourage that. Sex, is almost a given in many relationships. But here's the deal with that. And I've talked to college students in the very recent past about this. The more physical the relationship, the more pressure the relationship has, and the more clouded the judgment is of those who are involved. When your hormones get moving, you don't always think as clearly as you might want to, and so the less authentic it may become. But unfortunately, whether intended or not, it's more like people are using one another and then moving on in their serial dating. And this is where the verse comes in. What often happens, and we try to prepare our children and warn our children against this, in serial dating, what individuals do is they give pieces of their heart to several different people. And so you got pieces of your heart, placed around with different ones, and that's not protecting your heart that Proverbs 4:23 talks about. And so what people end up doing is they accumulate a lot of emotional and sometimes physical baggage, and they become less of themselves through that kind of serial dating. The heart, or the little child in us, is oftentimes injured as a result of that. I've known people who have experienced that as tremendous heartbreak. I've known people who considered suicide because of what we're talking about. And so a lot of people feel like there's something wrong with them if they don't have someone. And so again, there's this pressure to have someone that's going on that I think is not necessarily good for the relationship. And so I remember dealing with some of this in college, and a friend of mine gave me something that Laurie's going to read for us right now. See what your reaction is to this that she shares. Yeah.
It's called His Plan for Your Mate. Everyone longs to give themselves completely to someone, to have a deep soul relationship with one another, to be loved thoroughly and exclusively. But God, to a Christian, says, no, not until you are satisfied and content with being loved by me alone, with giving yourself totally and unreservedly to me, to having an intensely personal and unique relationship with me alone, discovering that only in me is your satisfaction to be found, will you be capable of the perfect human relationship that I have planned for you. You will never be united with another until you are united with me, exclusive to anyone or anything else, exclusive of any other desires or longings. I want you to stop planning, stop wishing, and allow me to give you the most thrilling plan existing, one that you cannot imagine. I want you to have the best. Please allow me to bring it to you. You just keep watching me, expecting the greatest things, keep experiencing the satisfaction that I am. Keep listening and learning the things that I tell you. You just wait. That's all. Don't be anxious. Don't worry. Don't look around at the things others have gotten or that I've given them. Don't look at the things you think you want. You just keep looking off and away up to me, where you'll miss what I want to show you. And then, when you're ready, I'll surprise you with a love far more wonderful than you would dream of. You see, until you are ready and until the one I have for you is ready, I'm working even this moment to have both of you ready at the same time. Until you are both satisfied exclusively with me and the life I have prepared for you, you won't be able to experience the love that exemplifies your relationship with me and is thus the perfect love. And dear one, I want you to have this most wonderful love. I want you to see in the flesh a picture of your everlasting union of beauty, perfection, and love I offer with myself. Know that I love you utterly. I am El Shaddai. believe it, and be satisfied.
What do you think about that as you listen to Laurie reading? You believe that God works that way?
I think, like last week, you mentioned that sex isn't the ultimate, it points to the ultimate experience. And having that relationship with God where we desire Him and we wait on Him is what we were created for. And so if we live our lives searching for something that He alone can give, then we aren't living into the fullness that He wants for us.
Faith is not simply a matter of what we do when we get together on Sunday morning. Faith reaches out into every aspect of our lives, including our dating and romance relationships. And so what Laurie just read in some ways is a statement of faith. And so what we tried to encourage our children to do was to have friends, to spend time in groups, but don't give your heart until it's time to give your heart. And we're going to see this in the Song of Songs, a similar sentiment being expressed. What's been so interesting that I've met people here in Lubbock who were best of friends. A guy and a girl were best of friends, and they would be in dating relationships and come back to the other and complain about those relationships. And after that went on for a few years, they end up saying, well, you're my best friend, why don't we date? And they end up getting married as a result. And people like Jerry and Carla Shelton fit into that category. Some of you remember Brandon and Megan Hayes, or Albert and Michelle Kraft. All of them, that's their story. Not realizing that, this person is right here next to me. So as Josh remembered, the key is, again, being the right person. It's not trying to find the right person or force that in some way. So let's jump from there to 1 Peter chapter 3. We're going to read verses 1 through 7, and then also Proverbs 31 and verse 30. Who will read the 1 Peter for us?
I'll get it here.
Okay, 1 Peter 3, 1 through 7.
Wives, in the same way, be submissive to your husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives, when they see the purity and reverence of your lives. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as braided hair and the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. Instead, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past, who put their hope in God, used to make themselves beautiful. They were submissive to their own husbands, like Sarah, who obeyed Abraham and called him her master. You are her daughters if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers.
Okay. Notice again, he didn't say anything about what you should be looking for. He talked about what you should be. Proverbs 31 verse 30 says, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. When my children were younger, I encouraged them to make a list, either on paper or in their heads, of what qualities and attributes they think would they would want in a mate? What are some qualities that a disciple of Christ would look for? What'd you look for? Or what are you looking for? Anybody have a list?
I guess I'm looking for somebody that's first of all a Christ follower, of course, but somebody that's honest and at times blunt to the point that I don't like it.
You're a brave man, Josh. Others?
I know when I started to date Andrea, some of the same qualities that we read here in First Peter are things that I noticed and that I was looking for. Someone that was focused more on inner beauty and building up others than their own interests.
Okay, an inner beauty and somebody who's investing in others and not their own interest. Physical attraction and sexual chemistry are not good foundations for a lifelong relationship. I'm not saying they're bad. In fact, they're good. They're just not foundations. And the reality is, if you want to build something that is solid and lasting, you must start with a solid foundation. And those are not the basis of solid foundation. He mentions some of the things here that are solid foundation, like an inner beauty. What else?
One of the things I was interested in was somebody who I knew would be a good father. I mean, I had always wanted to be a mom, and if I was blessed with children, if not biological, then adoption. But I wanted somebody who would be a good father.
In the same token, I was looking for someone that I thought would be a good mother, a good Christian mother to any children that we might have.
Mm-hmm.
That someone that would comfort me when I made mistakes, and someone that would, well, tell me the truth when I really did mess up.
Same kind of honesty Josh was talking about, right?
Yes.
Again, I don't want to be misunderstood here. It is okay to be attracted. It's wonderful to be attracted by appearance, but for character to be the foundation. And that takes time to see in a person. How does he or she react under stress? How does he or she relate to authority or handle conflict or interest in faith and spiritual matters? That takes time to really see, because people again want to have a relationship, so they behave well. We behave well as people for a good while, and so it takes some time to discern how deep and genuine that is. Now let's jump into the psalm. Somebody reads Song of Songs 1, verses 1 through 4.
I've got a deal.
Okay.
The Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. Let him kiss me with the kisses on his mouth. For your love is better than wine. Your atoning oils are fragrant. Your name is oil poured out. Therefore virgins love you. Draw me after you. Let us run. The King has brought me into his chambers. We will,
Through verse 4.
No, go ahead.
yeah, we will exalt and rejoice in you. We will extol you, your love for the wine. more than one. Rightly do they love you.
Okay, I want you to remember this. The interjections here, I think of he and she and group or others or however it's characterized in your particular version, I do not believe we're in the original text. And so this is somebody's idea of who is speaking, but it's not always clear who is speaking. And as we go through the study, what you're going to see is that I don't agree at times with the way they've broken it up. Okay? So beloved is the female protagonist, lover is the male protagonist, and Solomon is somewhat the villain in this poem, as we will see. We talked about this last week. As we noted last week, the Song of Songs contrast the forced love of Solomon's harem to the genuine love between beloved and her lover. Relationships still exist today where men have the power to treat women more as possessions. What is it that she mentioned in these first verses that attracted beloved to her lover? What did she see in him?
He smelled good.
Okay, it's probably helpful to remember that. I mean, I had 2 showers yesterday because I worked out. Took a shower when I got up in the morning. I worked out and sweated, so I took another shower. They didn't do that. They might go for a good while without any kind of bathing. And so what they would do is they would wear fragrances, okay? Colognes, as we might call them for men, or perfumes for women, to kind of, I guess, mask the potential body odor there. And she smells him. She is taken by his fragrance, but she's really talking about what? What is it that
she notices that he has a good reputation and that his name is good.
All right. She is. And yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was all I wanted to say about that. And then also she mentioned that he showed her affection.
All right.
He was affectionate. So
very good. His name. Now, guys, women notice looks, but what women are ultimately drawn to in men is their aura, their presence, what kind of person he is. And he was like perfume to her. That when he was around, his presence made life smell better, so to speak. And she was drawn to that. There's a sweetness about her attraction to him. And I think guys often miss this, okay? Because we're so visual, we think that building up our pecs and driving a fancy car is what will impress a woman. Well, she'll notice those things, but what grabs her is the kind of man that he is. And I think that's important probably for young men in particular to understand that if a woman is drawn simply by his possessions, she's not very drawn to him. But most women who have a powerful attraction are attracted to the person that he is, the name that he has. In fact, what does she say in verse 4? What does she say in the very first part of verse 4?
Take me away with you, hurry.
All right, here we already begin to see Solomon being the villain. She's saying to lover, let's run away. Let's just you and me go off. But what's the problem that comes right after that? What does it say?
She's saying that he's ready to bed her right now.
She's ready to run away and do that. But what's the problem?
She's in the king's chamber.
She's in the king's chamber. The king holds her back. Solomon, again, she's part of the harem. Solomon holds her back. He owns her. And so you can imagine some sadness that goes with that. All right? So here we're beginning to see a love that's developing in the midst of some adversity. And the adversity is pretty formidable with the king being involved. All right? She wants to run away with her lover, but the king keeps his hold on her. She is for his pleasure, at his beckoning. And so that's potentially, that's going to put a real damper, to say the least, on their relationship. And we're going to come back to that throughout the Song of Songs. Somebody read verses 5 through 8.
Dark am I, yet lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, like the tent curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I am dark, because I am darkened by the sun. My mother's sons were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I have neglected. Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock, and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flocks of your friends? If you do not know, most beautiful of women, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your young goats by the tents of the shepherds.
Okay. This probably catches most of us by surprise and seems very odd to our 21st sensibilities. She's been outside a lot. Okay, she's tending she's working outside, and she's tanned. Now, what does that mean in our culture?
You have a lot of vacation days.
All right. You got a lot of vacation days. We have learned in our culture to kind of prize a good tan, right? I mean, there's still stores that are have tanning beds and things. What it indicated in that culture was that you were a working woman. If you were fair-skinned, what it indicated is that you were a woman of the indoors. You were more pampered, and you were more well taken care of. And so she's kind of embarrassed and self-conscious about that. So here's the question. Beloved was self-conscious about several things. What are they, and what might you tell her about her concerns? And let me say this while you're thinking about how you want to answer that. Like most women, she was concerned about her looks. In a culture where women feel a lot of pressure about their looks, she's echoing the same kind of concern 3,000 years ago. What do people see when they look at me? Oh, they see my dark skin. Don't let that turn you off. I mean, she's kind of saying, don't let it turn you away. My brothers have forced me to work. She knew that that wasn't the cultural prized appearance, and she's hoping that it won't discourage. So what do you see her? What's she self-conscious about? What?
That should be remain unseen.
Say that again.
That she'll remain unseen. That she won't be noticed.
Okay. That she won't be noticed. Again, people will look at her. There's a working girl. Let's pass by. We don't want somebody like her. What else has happened that she fears that she may not be seen? What'd she say she's not been able to do?
She hasn't been able to keep up her vineyard.
All right, her vineyard. This is important for us to define as we move through the rest of the book. What's she talking about? She's not talking about grapes here. What's her vineyard? It's her body. When we read through the Song of Songs, and we come across a reference to a vineyard like this, I haven't been able to attend my vineyard. She's talking about her body. So in effect, what she's saying is, I haven't been able to, fix up my hair. I haven't been able to put on makeup. I haven't been able to bathe in the lotions and things. And so I hope that you won't stare at me in a way that I feel rejected. She was self-conscious, and many women are self-conscious about their looks. That bothered her. And her brothers, what were her brothers trying to do? These are probably older brothers. What do you think they were trying to do?
Probably trying to keep her from being where she is now.
All right. They were trying to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't take it as that, as many younger siblings won't. She probably resented their, putting her out in the outdoors to work. And so again, there's a self-consciousness about her life and her body and her looks are like. And she didn't want to wear a veil either in daylight and be confused with being a prostitute. So she's very, very concerned. Here's the reality. Probably most people who saw her saw a beautiful woman, saw a beautiful young woman. But that's not how she saw herself. Ladies, you don't have to respond if you don't want, but my guess is that many of you will be able to relate to that. That, what you see in the mirror is oftentimes the blemishes, the shortcomings, or at least your idea of what you think your shortcomings are when others see you very differently. That's what she's dealing with. So that potentially is something that could hinder a relationship if she has tremendous insecurities about that. Thoughts, comments about that? This is a very common thing in our culture today.
You see today also a lot of the men acting like that too.
Yeah.
Afraid of their complexion, afraid of a blackhead or a pimple, and they don't want to be seen. They'll hold a book in front of their face as they talk to people because they don't want others to see their imperfections.
So what we're saying is, in our culture, there's a lot of emphasis put on looks, isn't there? Yet, what did we read in 1 Peter 3 just a few minutes ago? What was the instruction given to the wives? Don't let your beauty simply be the outward adornment, but develop the beauty of the inward person. And so again, this is a matter of faith. Do I trust God that doing it His way will be the best way? I think that both guys and girls in our culture feel that pressure to live up to a particular standard of looks, when we should be putting our emphasis on developing the inner person. Okay? Thoughts or questions about that? Okay. Verses 9 through 11, 15, and 17. I chose those because and then broke up the other verses that follow because of it's one person, it's the same person speaking in those. So somebody read 9 through 11, 15, and 17.
I liken you, my darling, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariot horses. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with strings of jewel. We will make you earrings of gold, studded with silver. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes are doves. The beams of our house are cedars, our rafters are firs.
Okay. How'd you like to be called a horse, women? Take that as a compliment, flattery.
If it was Black Beauty,
If it's Black Beauty, well, that's, he's saying that, but he's not saying it maybe in the literal way that we might take. Have you ever watched the Kentucky Derby or one of the, the Preakness or the Belmont Stakes? Do you see the way those horses are treated and the way that they are, the way that they are prepared for their race and what majestic creatures those are? That's the thought that he's using here. The imagery used in the Song of Songs is meant to evoke certain emotions and thoughts. After all, it is a poem of love. What is lover saying about beloved? He's not promoting, he's not promoting sex outside of marriage, but intimacy within commitment, because there are negative consequences outside of that commitment. But what's he saying about beloved?
That he wants nothing but the best for her. He wants to give her all the best, just like you were talking about those horses. They're pampered. They are treated, so well, taken care of, so they can do their job, and their lives depended on them. So they were taken very well care of. And so that's what he wants for her. He wants to take care of her, that she lacked for nothing.
So he wants to take care of her, but he doesn't see the flaws that she sees. He sees that majestic horse who's beautiful and glistening and glowing. What else do you see?
He pretty much just like you basically said, Dale, but he pretty much contrasts everything that she just said about herself, you know, saying your skin is beautiful. Like Maria was saying, like you deserve these fine jewels, and we're going to get those for you. We can make this, and this is my aim, and we can take shelter together, and you can trust me, you know, just pretty much quieting her heart for everything that she's self-conscious about.
Yeah. He doesn't see her concerns. He sees her beauty, and he affirms her for it. You know, one of the challenges I think that the Song of Songs kind of brings to the surface is about how to be godly and sexual at the same time. Is it possible to be godly and sexual at the same time? The answer is
Yes.
yes, for the sign language people. Yes, it is. It is possible to be godly and sexual at the same time. As we talked about last week, sex is God's idea, His creation. And we're going to see some uninhibited expression of that, of those feelings. And so I want that to be conveyed very clearly as we go through this study, that the poetic language that will be very erotic and graphic at times is a picture of beauty versus Solomon's oppressive and possessive treatment of beloved. Okay? Verses 12 through 14 and verse 16. Somebody read those, please.
While the king was on his couch, my nard gave forth its fragrance. My beloved is to me a sachet of myrrh that lies between her breasts. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna in the vineyards of Engedi.
And 16.
Behold, you are beautiful, my truly delightful. Our couch is green.
Okay, so the king again, he's kind of this dark shadow figure over their relationship in many ways, and we see this throughout the book, that the king's presence casts a dark shadow over their relationship. But what is the beloved's poetic response to her lover? What's she saying?
She says he's handsome and charming.
Okay, she says he's handsome and charming. Where is he? She says, my beloved is to me a sachet of myrrh that lies between my breasts. Where does she want him?
Right next to her.
Right next
Next
to her. Is in as intimate a spot as she can get him. This is what's interested in this is she's starting the love-making talk. Now, what would be so unusual about that? What would be so unusual about her starting the love-making talk? Say it out loud.
Said women didn't do that during that era.
All right, and many don't feel right in doing it now. It's oftentimes unusual for women to take the initiative when it comes to love making. This is the Song of Songs is not going to be male dominant. It's going to be mutual. And so what we see here again is a relationship that breaks many of the norms for how things not only were done then, but also for how things are often done now. Now, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but if you would like to share, I would welcome you to share. Guys, how do you react, or would you react if your wife took the initiative in lovemaking? Boy, I'm really hanging some of you out to dry to answer that question, because if you give the wrong answer, you may be in trouble. But anybody who's courageous enough.
But it would, I guess, bring excitement.
Yeah. I mean, we like the fact that our wives are attracted to us too, that they want to make love to us. And so this had to be exciting for him to hear her words that she's sharing here. And I think in the uninhibited design of God, it is a mutual thing. I'm guessing again that before sin entered the picture in the Garden of Eden, that Adam and Eve were mutually assertive in initiating lovemaking. I think that's probably God's design today. The idea that sex was only meant for men is a tremendous misconception. And yet I think that perhaps a lot of women have missed out over the years because they had that misconception. So what we see in this developing poem is a pretty excited young man and a pretty excited young woman who are looking forward to spending time intimately together. Thoughts about that?
I just think it's kind of strange because it's so contrary to today. I've kind of been taught by culture, not necessarily my parents or any family members, but that it's okay for the woman. It's pretty normal for the woman to make the first move, and I've come to kind of expect that, and I see that's a flaw, a terrible flaw.
Well, what's interesting, Josh, is when I was growing up many, many years ago, for a girl to take the initiative was considered she was probably a bad girl. Okay, she's probably a bad girl if she would take the initiative. What you're saying is that today it's pretty common for girls to take the initiative. Once a husband and wife are married, either or both should feel free to take the initiative to initiate the beauty and wonder of making love. And just as a woman feels desired when her husband seeks after her, guess what, wives? We like feeling desired too. Amen, Steve? Can I get an amen from you? Okay, very good. Very good. Thumbs up.
I got something to say, Dale.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with my wife making the first move. It doesn't bother me one bit. I'm just as happy to go on with this as anybody else.
You got that, Maria?
What?
You got that?
Yeah, I have no problem either.
Very good. Very good. I appreciate you speaking up, Travis. And
no problem.
Well, again, what we're learning, and Josh kind of hinted at it a minute ago, is that what we see in culture is not very often what God designed. And so I'm hoping again that through this continued study, we will have a clear picture of the beauty, the wonder, and the enthusiasm that goes with what God designed. So I hope that you all will be blessed. Thank you again for joining this week. And we will move into chapter 2 when we get together next week. Have a blessed week together.